Everything school should have taught you in one place. With a property portfolio of over 17 million and an accountancy firm of over 16,000 clients, as well as being an accountant to some of the wealthiest people in Australia, Jeremy Iannuzzelli will be sharing his lessons on everything school should have taught you so you can build the life you want.
When Howard and Costello brought in GST, it was going to be the biggest wealth killer that Australia ever had. It was a 10% tax on goods and services. The world was about to collapse when it was brought in July of 2000. Since then, 25 years later on, GST has just become a habitual nature that we go through. It's a pain in the bum that accountants need to lodge every quarter. People need to pay their BAS, their business activity statement, which will generally include the GST, PAYG withholding, fringe benefit tax instalments, PAYG tax instalments, and maybe you're getting some diesel fuel rebates back as well. It's an essential part of the economy. In 23-24, GST raised nearly $85 billion for our government to be able to pay for a lot of the costs that you and we get to have and see here in Australia. And that goes towards hospitals and roads and other things that we need and other things that we consume. But it's important to understand that GST can be also one of the small business killers as well. And I'll explain to you the concept of what I mean. A lot of people will wait generally till they exceed $75,000 in turnover before registering for GST. But you need to understand it's actually not when you exceed it, but when you foresee it. So it's important when I say foreseen, you need to take a look at today and 12 months from today. And if you feel that from today, 12 months from today, you'll be turning over more than 75 grand, then you must register for GST. Tomorrow when you wake up, if you foresee that you'll be turning over more than 75 grand in 12 months' time, you must register for GST from that day. So you don't necessarily wait till you get to 75 grand because by then it could be too late. Now, one of the biggest things that I see that impacts small businesses substantially, and again, contrary to what I provide them as advice, I generally say you should be registering for GST straight away. The only exception to that would be is that if you know that this is going to be a genuine small business, you've got no goals or aspirations of turning over more than 20 or 30 grand, you're not going to allocate more than 1 hour a week to it, then you can leave GST registration out. But if you know that this is a business that you're going to spend time and effort to be able to grow it, I always say you should be registering for GST straight away. And the reason is why. Your customers get used to a certain amount of billing or an invoice that you charge them for the time and services that you provide. All of a sudden, you then have to register for GST and you're now facing two choices. You either include GST in your price, which effectively means that you're losing 1/11 of your income to the ATO. That's 1/11 less profit than you had the day before. Or you're adding 10% GST to your price, which effectively means overnight, your clients or customers, they're getting charged 10% extra for the same service you're providing them on Tuesday, and the service is now being provided on a Thursday. Now, to them, it feels like the end of the world. To you, your argument is my income's not changing because I'm only charging you 10% extra. Now, business to business that are both registered for GST, GST doesn't mean much. I pay it on one hand and the other person gets to claim it back on the other. So it's very much a nullified tax. However, GST to the end consumer who is not a business, that is for argument's sake selling your accounting services to the individual, that GST is a genuine sunk cost. It goes directly to the ATO by way of the business owner. So if you've been providing tax services to your clients, for argument's sake, for many years while not being registered for GST because your operation was small, straight away there is a 10% bump that needs to be charged or you're losing 1/11 of your income. So it's important. If you're starting a small business, probably best you speak to your consultant and register for GST straight away. Don't let GST become a small business killer to you. I have seen it many, many, many times where clients have forced themselves to stay under the GST registration amount, literally say no to work because they know if they were to lift their prices by 10%, a huge amount of their customers or clients would leave straight away. And it blows my mind that people would say no to work to stay under the cap of GST turnover, which at present is $75,000. Give yourself opportunities to grow. Don't have that awkward conversation 6 months from now with your client saying, I've got to lift my price by 10%, but hey, it's not my money, it's the government's, because they'll never understand. In the end, it's 10% coming extra out of their back pocket. By registering for GST, the day that you start your business, you're taking away that awkward conversation and you're de-risking yourself from having to take away 1/11 of your income because you need to change your price. So important to note, GST, it can become the small business killer or it can become just another compliance and another task you need to do with your accountant on a quarterly basis. I hope that's given you some indication of when you should be registering for GST and why you should be doing it earlier. If you're liking this content, don't forget to hit like and subscribe on our iTunes and Spotify or on YouTube. I'm Jeremy Iannuzzelli. That's what school should have taught you. See you next week.